Good morning. It's me again, here to talk to you about all the ways that hypnosis is happening in the world that you don't even know it's happening. Today we're going to talk about, is your favorite politician using hypnosis on you? Well, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? I mean, he's not a hypnotist. You're not going to a stage show. He's not using this slow hypnotic language to lull you into a trance. How could he be using hypnosis? Well, allow me to explain. This is Milton Erickson, and he is widely accepted and revered as the greatest hypnotist of all time. He developed and mastered something called conversational hypnosis. What is conversational hypnosis? Well, first of all, let's just clarify what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is directly imparting information, thoughts, ideas, beliefs, into the subconscious mind without the conscious mind having a chance to weigh in, contemplate, or decide if it wants that information. That's why when I said that we've been hypnotized since the day we were born, we don't consciously question all the things that we're taught as small children. It just goes directly into the subconscious mind because we don't have a filter until around the age of 6 or 8. So how can you use conversation to hypnotize people when they don't even know it's happening? Well, Milton Erickson developed polio, and for months he was paralyzed, unable to even speak. So he lay awake in this very alert state, but unable to communicate, move, or anything. So he was very tuned in to everything going on around him. And he started noticing all the little subtleties of communication. How somebody's words may be different than their tone of voice. How somebody may say the word yes, but you could tell that they meant no. And he began to break all of this down, and he developed all of these language patterns that essentially you can have two conversations at the same time. One conversation, or what some of the words that you're using are engaging the conscious mind, while other words are communicating directly with the subconscious mind, which means that you're imparting information, ideas, and what you want people to think and feel directly into the subconscious mind without their conscious mind even figuring out that you're doing it. So let me just give you a couple of examples. One is that the subconscious mind, as we know, is way smarter. It's able to pick up on patterns and rhythms and things that our conscious mind doesn't even notice. You know, when somebody's using a certain tone of voice or body language, even though we don't consciously realize that we feel a certain way about them, our unconscious mind takes all of that information in because it's able to process much more information than we can consciously. So rhythm is one of the ways. I mean, I'm sure that you've heard of drum circles or, you know, tribes where they use a lot of rhythmic dancing and things like this. Just simply using that rhythm can push you into a trance or a hypnotic state because your subconscious mind responds to that rhythmic pattern, okay? So how can this be useful in conversational hypnosis? Well, the subconscious mind is able to pick up these patterns. So somebody may be talking, okay, but then marking out specific words in a certain pattern. So he may be telling a story. I went to the store, and while I was there, I spoke to the cashier, and she said, "You are the nicest man that I have ever met." And then I was talking about my experience, and my friend says, "Well, you know, you should never feel tired when you go to the store, because when you do, you may not buy the things that you really want to do." And I said, "Oh, yes, I agree. I would never go when I'm sleepy, because that just wouldn't be the right way to do it." Well, that seems like a very silly example, and I know it wasn't the best thought out thing I could have put together. But think about the words that I specifically marked out. The cashier said, "You are," and the friend said, "are tired," and I said, "and sleepy." So your subconscious mind, not just with one simple couple of sentences, but if you continue to do that over time, say a 5 or 10 minute speech, you're marking out, "You are tired and sleepy. you are going into trance, or, you know, whatever the message that you want it to be. If you are doing this story that's speaking a story to the conscious mind that you think that you're tuned into, there can be these embedded commands or embedded suggestions also. That's called an embedded suggestion. Very common conversational hypnotic technique. Another technique is called a presupposition. What does that mean? Well, a presupposition basically gets you to agree with something that you're not focusing on. It's kind of like that magic show. Once again, you're looking at this over here while the rabbit's coming out of the hat over here. So if I said to you, my cat is the smartest cat in the world, you would think, how does she know her cat's the smartest cat in the world? And if you're going to argue with anything, it would be, well, my cat's really smart. I bet your cat's not smarter than my cat. Once again, a silly example. But where's the presupposition in this sentence? The presupposition is that I have a cat. Maybe I don't really even have a cat. But by me saying my cat is the smartest cat, you don't question whether I have a cat. You only question whether it's the smartest cat. So presuppositions get you to agree with something without even knowing that you're agreeing to it, because you're focused on disagreeing or questioning another part of the sentence. So conversational hypnotists there's 100 different tools like this, you know. There's a lot of language patterns that just really confuse the conscious mind. You're using lots of adjectives and what they call nominalizations and adverbs and awareness words and things that it takes a lot of processing power for your conscious mind to actually track with what you're saying. And so while your conscious mind is confused, it's really easy in that moment to then impart that direct suggestion right into the subconscious mind, because you're still trying to figure out what they're even talking about, and then they say this other thing that just goes in and you don't even know that it happened. Okay? So you start to combine all of these processes together, and it becomes very effective. And you think that you're just listening to somebody guy give a speech, you're having a conversation, and meanwhile they're directing information directly into your subconscious mind to influence you and to create beliefs and ideas that you may not have consciously wanted to agree with or choose. So let's just break down the statement. When I become president, I'm going to build a wall to keep out the rapists and the drug dealers. Sorry, I had to pick on them. There's lots of NLP courses for salespeople. The really best salespeople do know about these techniques because they're using them to influence you to buy what they're selling. So really, really common in the sales world. And as we know, Trump was a salesman, and he was very good at it, very good at persuading people, influencing them to do what he wants. By the way, there's this other book written by a guy who teaches these techniques to men on how to pick up women. So maybe you're not particularly attractive, maybe you're not even particularly rich, but he takes guys with no game, teaches them game, basically using these conversational little techniques for persuasion and manipulation, and you kind of push their buttons with their emotions and engage them so that they can pick up and sleep with dozens of women. So any tool can be used for good or for bad. Milton Erickson used it for therapy. He was magical in his ability to help people even when others had failed. But sadly, people can use it for their own personal agenda, which may be self-serving. So back to, when I become president, I'm going to build a wall to keep out all of the rapists and the drug dealers. So first of all, there's a presupposition, okay? If he says, when I become president, I'm going to build a wall, what part of that sentence are you focusing on? That he's going to build a wall. Now, whether you agree or disagree or strongly disagree with the idea of building a wall, the presupposition was, when I become president. The unspoken idea is that I'm becoming president. That doesn't really go question, because all of your focus is on, he's going to build a wall. What are you talking about? Okay? Now think about the people who do agree with the idea of a wall. So let's just talk about how emotions are used to influence us, okay? So imagine that you're watching a zombie movie, okay, and it's terrifying, and these zombies are coming after you, and they're not even like human anymore. They've lost their minds, they don't even have a soul. They're just coming after you to eat your flesh, and it's terrifying. And of course, in that moment, you're not thinking, oh, well, we should discuss this with them and we should be diplomatic and understand their concerns and needs. No, they're zombies. You've got to run and get away. And all you want to do is get in that building or get behind that wall and slam the door shut and, whew, I'm safe. Right? So the subconscious mind also thinks in symbols, pictures, things like that. So if you're feeling threatened, and, you know, in our mind, a rapist or a drug dealer is almost like a zombie, right? We don't view them as, when we put these labels on them, we don't view them as humans with emotions and needs. We view them as almost like a zombie creature. They're just coming after us. They're going to try to prey on our children or our wife, and we're not going to be safe. So this idea, this picture of a wall appeals to the subconscious mind because it really communicates safety in a way that words and logic simply cannot do. So it very much appeals to the subconscious mind. So there's so many techniques. You know, another simple one is a different kind of presupposition. Let me say that, use the sentence, I wonder if you realize just how smart you are. So it puts the emphasis off on the question whether you're smart, and it puts more emphasis on, I wonder if you realize that you're smart. Well, no, I never really did realize how smart I am. And so you almost accept unquestioned or subconsciously that, well, yes, I must be smart. I just didn't realize it before. Okay? So there's 100 of these little tiny word language patterns that are able to get the idea that they want in while they're distracting your conscious mind with this other story or this other thing. So we are all being hypnotized conversationally, even by people who don't realize they're doing it. You know, people manipulate us with their emotions. That's why you know, your mother or mother-in-law uses guilt to get you to come over and mow her lawn. They don't realize that they're even doing it, but we're able to manipulate and get into the subconscious minds of all kinds of people and use their triggers or their anchors. So people who are in positions of power, people who are smart, people who are great salespeople, they study these things. They learn how to use conversation. They learn how to use these techniques to get you to agree subconsciously with their agenda, because they've taken the time. It's not so much that they're smarter, it's just that they know about it and they've taken the time to master these language patterns. And here's the thing, even if you know they're using them, sometimes they can still be effective because it's just how the brain is wired. So wake up, tune in, break it down for yourself, and really start to question, are they using some of these techniques on me? The ones that guys use to pick up on women all the time? The ones that car salesmen use to get people to buy the car and feel really great about the one that they're selling? Or maybe they're using it to sell their ideas so that I vote them in. It happens every day, all around us all the time. We have to wake up and get out of the mind game and start to move into the heart game. Because when you're really connected to your heart, and when you're really discerning from that heart space, and you're connected through spirit to your higher discernment, it doesn't mean you can never be fooled, but you'll start to feel something different. You'll start to discern from a deeper space, and you may start to see through the smoke and mirrors. So, food for thought. You might want to look up NLP for sales, or even look up some of these other techniques and see how it works and how maybe it's worked on you. Sorry to tell you. Until then, I will see you next time. Hasta luego.